When you see the whole world shaking and you feel your heart is breaking, take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Fearless, we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Fearless, we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening, and it's Saturday, February 13th, and I'm just waiting to see. I want to make sure you guys could hear me out there. It's still playing the introduction, and just doing a sound check. And okay, it's working. All right. Okay. All right. So it's Saturday evening, and very rainy. It's been raining a lot the last few days. We're all getting tired of it, and there's something going on with one of the. I don't know if it's the mask or whatever, but I thought I would start off because tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and I thought I would get us in the mood. Let's see here. Yes. I hope you hear it. Yes, happy Valentine's Day. So I thought since it's Valentine's Day, I would do an episode on questions that I've been finding from new home buyers to show how loving it we are, real estate agents, to help you with your transactions. Okay, so there is a website or a Facebook page, and it's dedicated to first-time home buyers, and they have really a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. So I thought I would cover that today. So first, let's do our little introduction. Okay. And here's the nice little rose petals coming down to help us celebrate for Valentine's Day. Okay. All right. So, I think, I guess the whole screen is going to be covered. So, let's move on. Okay. Hope that was a nice effect. All right. So let's get our graphic up here, and today's topic: common questions of first-time homebuyers. And as I said earlier, there is a Facebook business page, fan page that's dedicated to first-time homebuyers, and they post their concerns. A lot of times they will post that they are now home buyers and homeowners, and that's a nice thing. It's not always concerns, but there's a lot of positive information on it. But it's a website. It's that is good for a real estate agent like myself to look at to learn about the concerns of home buyers, and they may not even be first-time home buyers. And sometimes people won't express their concerns all the time, so it's good to kind of fill it out. So I'm going to get rid of this graphic right now because it's getting a bit much. So let's turn this off. Okay. So, and I'm going to a little bit later play another video why you should choose a real estate agent for your transactions. But let's go to the first question that comes up. I actually saw this one today come up, and it asked, does it cost me to use a buyer's agent to purchase a home? And the question is, and the answer is, no, it does not. Okay, and that's why you really shouldn't try to purchase a home on your own, because it's a long-winded, difficult process, and it's helpful to have someone who will represent you in the transaction, who will look out for your best interest. And that's the role, in this case, of a buyer's agent. I would then represent you. I will work to get you, well, first I will work to get you the home that meets all your requirements. And once we find that home, to write an offer that will be acceptable, or a fair offer that will be acceptable to the seller, and get it ratified. Now, let me just throw in a little side note with that. Part of my job is also to make sure that the price they're asking for is the true market value of that house, or within that price range for that house in that area. And we usually use a 1 mile radius to make sure that they're not asking too much. And actually, with today's buyer's market, seller's market, a lot of the sellers are pushing the envelope on this, because, as you will see in another question that's coming up, we are in need of housing inventory, right? And if you've taken economics 101 in college, or if you had economics in high school, when you have a strong demand, which we have now, and little inventory, which we have now, what happens? It pushes prices up. And that's exactly what's happening now. But a lot of sellers, and all right, I won't say a lot of sellers, but they're pushing that envelope. They're actually going a little too high. And the appraisers are catching up with that, because they don't want this to happen. what happened in 2007, 2008, where a lot of houses were overpriced, and then we had the crash, and then that's a whole other live stream episode. Okay, so the appraisers are doing their best to keep it under control. Yes, of course, prices will go up because of this economic formula, but it can't go overboard. All right, that's when it's going to start hurting the economy if something goes wrong, with the job market, with the stock market, and so forth. Okay, so it's my job to make sure that you are offering a price that's a fair price, okay, and doing my best to get it ratified. All right. I just had a closing where the closing company said a lot of sellers are not offering any closing cost assistance right now. All right, and that's when the seller will help you, the buyer, with your closing cost. And I got them to pay. Yeah, I got them to pay actually 3.5%, which was pretty good. We're usually able to get around 3%, but now with the seller's market, the seller is either not offering any or maybe just 1%. But I was able to get them the whole 3.5%. And that's all part of how the deal is structured, which a seasoned real estate agent like Chris Gargiulo could help you. Okay. So using my service as a buyer's agent does not cost you anything. Okay. So you should go with a trusted real estate professional. All right. Doesn't cost you anything. Who does it cost? It costs the seller. And the seller is the one who's paying the commissions to both the buyer's agent and the seller's agent at closing. All right. So that commission payment is coming from the proceeds of the sale. And again, you're not paying for that. Now, some agents now, going back to the buying side, they charge an administrative fee. And usually that goes to the person who is doing the actual logistics of the paperwork. That's all involved. I mean, there's so much paperwork involved. And many times with some companies, they have a separate person who does that and they get paid a fee. I do not do that. I do not charge an additional administrative fee. I don't do that. I just think my commission that I get is fine enough. I get a good cut, and I don't have to charge my buyers anymore. There are times when a house on the market is not giving the buyer's agent the full traditional 3%. Okay. And I say the word traditional because there's no set number on commission. Okay. There's nowhere in the real estate commission board that they say the listing agent has to charge 6%. They could charge 7%. They could charge 4%. There's no set. It seems to be the average is 6%. And then some agents will say, well, if I get less than 3%, my buyer doesn't have to make up the difference. I let that go because even if I still make 2.5%, I'm still making a good amount of money. Now, will I change my mind? No, I don't think I'm going to change my mind on that. I'll just get paid from the seller side. So in most situations, it should be all situations, it does not cost you anything to use a buyer's agent unless you sign a broker's agent agreement where the agent is saying, well, if it falls below 3%, I'm asking you to make up the difference. And it's usually a half a point. Okay. You can negotiate that. You could say before you sign the broker's buyer agreement, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't have the money. I have to put money down for the house. I might not get closing cost assistance. I'm I'm not going to sign that part. I mean, if you're not willing to erase that, I'm not going to do business with you. Okay. Generally, it doesn't cost you anything to use a buyer's agent, but there are some circumstances if their commission goes below 3%, you will have some agents who will ask you to make up the difference. I don't do that. All right. Let's look at question number 2. Very common. And I've been seeing this not just once, I've been seeing this quite often on the Facebook fan page. Why are so many homes already in contract? That people are saying, I'm going out to see a house and there's already a contract on it. You know, we call one day, we make an appointment to go the next day, and it's already in contract. And again, it's going back to what's happening right now. There's a strong buyer's demand, which on one side, that's good. It shows that the economy is still a bit strong. Not for everybody, but for a good portion of people, their jobs are good. They haven't had any loss of income. And the ones who are in the market now are true home buyers who are ready to sign a contract now. They're not just like filling out the market, seeing how it's going, getting a touch, a feel, I'm dipping my toe in the water. No, they're ready to buy now. But we have a shortage of homes right now. Why do we have a shortage of homes? Because of COVID-19. Many people who are still living in their homes, they have not moved yet, have concerns about having many people walk through the house. So they're holding on. They're staying longer in their homes. They're putting that goal to move to another house, maybe to move to a larger house. They are putting that on hold right now because they just either don't want people walking through their house all the time, like having open houses, or themselves, they don't want to right now go out and look because of COVID-19. And as I have said many times in my live streams, 2 things we have to get done is to get in control of COVID-19, which I believe we are. We're getting on the right path. Can more things go wrong? Of course, more things could go wrong, but I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And this secondary stimulus package has to go out soon to help a lot of people. They have to extend the people being evicted from rentals, from being foreclosed upon. All of this has to happen to keep the ball going. Don't forget, if people are renting and they're not making their payments, the owner, who may also have a mortgage on that house, is having difficulty now making their mortgage payments. All right, so it's like a domino effect. All right, one thing affects the other. So that's why this new stimulus package has to come into fruition as soon as possible. And I see this. I just had this with one of my clients right now. My loan officer said I was pre-qualified. Why am I being asked for more paperwork? All right. Now, you get pre-qualified before you actually have a contract. And what does that entail? Well, you spoke to the mortgage loan officer over the phone. You told them, I make such and such a year. All right. I have so much money in the bank. The loan officer runs a credit report, and based upon that information, they say, okay, you're pre-qualified, your credit is good, you could get a home up to $200,000, $300,000, whatever. and you can start looking for a home. And they write up this pre-qualification letter, which I would need for the time we write the contract and submit it to the listing agent. There has to be a pre-qualifying letter that accompanies the contract. All right. Now we go and we have a ratified contract. Now you go into the loan officer's office, and you might have done this already, but now the clock is ticking. You got to bring in all your paperwork. You got to bring in your last 2 years of your income statements, your tax forms. All right, you have to bring in a certain amount of months of your checking account, saving account, and this is where now, the ground hits rubber or whatever that saying is, and you have to do everything. And then, well, let's back up. The loan officer gathers all that information, and now they have to send it down to underwriting. And this underwriter is a person who now will check everything very closely and deeply. And they'll look really close to your credit report and see if there's any questions. If there were some late payments, maybe you need a letter. If you have some medical bills that are not paid, maybe you'll need a letter. Maybe you need to show some sort of payment agreement to satisfy the underwriter. One very good example I had where he was pre-qualified, but once we had a contract, he was no longer qualified because he owned property in the Caribbean, which were used as rentals. And the people who rented the houses in Caribbean just like put money into his bank account, cash. So there was no checks going in on a regular basis that could establish that he has a steady flow of income from these rentals. So that could not be validated, and he no longer qualified for the loan. So again, don't get flustered if all of a sudden the loan officer calls you, like after you have a ratified contract, and saying, well, the underwriter is asking for this and for that. All right. They're just doing their job, and they just need verification on different items. It's not always a situation where you have to get nervous. It's just paperwork that they need just to prove or validate the income. There's also a lot of paperwork involved when there's a divorce, and who pays what and who's responsible for what. Okay? That's another issue where the loan officer might call you and saying the underwriter is asking for this additional documentation. Don't get nervous. Just do what the loan officer says, and 99.9% everything will be okay. Okay? Something like this, we actually had a show on this. Do I need to put 20% down to purchase a home? And no, you don't. Okay? Now, the benefit of putting 20% down, you avoid paying something that's called private mortgage insurance or mortgage insurance. So the bank always feels the most comfortable if you could put 20% down and you have more stake in your property, right? You have 20% down. And the more you put down, the odds of you foreclosing or going into financial, you could always go into financial difficulty, but having more equity in your house by putting down at least 20% gives the bank more of a sense of assurance. Okay, so when you put down less than 20%, that deal is a little bit more shaky for the bank. It's not a bad deal, but they need a little more assurance on their side. So what do they have? They have private mortgage insurance. Now, years ago, and not like 20, 30 years ago, but I would say, I guess this law change or this dealing with the FHA and Fannie Mae changed maybe about 7 to 8 years ago. But there was a point where once you got 20% equity in the house, paying down your mortgage, and there might be you taking 10 years or whatever, 8 to 10 years, 5 years. But once you reach that point of having 20% equity, they dropped the private mortgage insurance. But they don't do that anymore. You have that private mortgage insurance until the end of your mortgage, until the 30th year. Now, once you have 20% in the equity in the house, you could then refinance with a conventional loan, and you'll be fine. You won't need it. I mean, actually, I imagine, and I'm going to leave this for my loan officers. I imagine if you have 20% equity in the house, you could still use Fannie Mae or FHA. But it seems like whenever a person refinances the house to get rid of the mortgage insurance, they usually go conventional. But I'll leave that up for my loan officers, whether or not you have to. You might actually get a better rate, okay? Maybe yes, maybe not, depending on your credit, your credit report and your number. But I'll leave that up for my mortgage professionals. But in order to drop the private mortgage insurance, you would have to refinance if you first purchased with a FHA or Fannie Mae. But if you purchase with a Fannie Mae, which is 3% down, or an FHA mortgage, which is 3.5% down, that's all you would have to put down, right? So on a $100,000 house, 3% would be $3,000. 3.5% would be $4,500. Okay. Also, in the state of Virginia, we have a VHDA program, which is for first-time home buyers, where you could get 100% financing. Okay, you don't have to put anything down. It'll be based upon your credit. You would have to take a webinar course on the responsibility of having a mortgage, but we have that program in Virginia. And you don't just have to be a first-time home buyer. You could be someone who has owned a home in the past, has sold it, but there has to be a 3-year break between those two. All right, so we're in 2021. You would have to have sold a house somewhere, or at least, in January of 2018. Okay, that's 3 years difference. And then you would be considered a first-time home buyer again. All right, so you don't have to put down the 20%. You could put down 3 or 3.5%, or get 100% financing if you're a first-time home buyer. If you are a veteran, and most veterans or active military members know this, but with the VA loan, it's 100% financing with no private mortgage insurance. So that's really, really good if you're in the military or you are a veteran. And I think we have time for one more question. And what happens if the appraisal price is lower than the purchase price? If your agent, like myself, correctly filled out the contract, let's say, again, the purchase price is $100,000. There's a portion of the contract where you say, if the house is appraised below the price, and you write in the amount $100,000, the buyer has the right to renegotiate or be released from the contract if they don't want to make up that difference. Okay. And To give this example again, let's say the price of a house is 100,000. You're putting down, let's say we're putting down 3,000 to make it easy. So you're actually financing 97,000. That's what the mortgage would be. Let's say the house appraises at 95,000. Well, you have a $2,000 difference. Now, you could either say, okay, let's renegotiate on this, see if the buyer will come down to the seller would come down to 95,000. Okay. If not, you could pay that difference. You have to bring that in cash at closing, that $2,000 difference. Okay. Along with your down payment. All right. If you can't negotiate it, if you say, well, I have an extra 1,000, can we make 1,000? And you drop it to, 99, whatever. If you can't negotiate that, you have the right to be released from the contract with no retribution. In other words, you get your earnest money deposit back. And that's another question. What's the EMD? In Virginia, it's usually around 500. EMD is short for earnest money deposit. When you write the contract, you submit an earnest money deposit or earnest money check. That money is only deposited when you have a ratified contract, and then it's held in escrow. Okay, you don't lose it. That at the end, that could go to your closing cost. If you have all your closing costs paid for, and you don't owe anything else, if you paid for your appraisal, blah blah blah, you will then get that check back at closing, or that amount back in closing. Okay. With today's market, where it's a seller's market, a lot of people, meaning buyers, are paying that difference, unless it's really outrageous. But they're making up that difference, and that's entirely up to you, the buyer, if you want to do that as well. Okay. So with that, there's a lovely video on why you should choose a real estate agent like myself. It's Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving, my God. It's Valentine's Day weekend. And why should you choose a real estate agent? Wasn't that nice? That was sweet, wasn't it? Okay, I think I hear my my producer Leonard Patapkin calling me. I believe we have a special celebrity in the audience. Is that true, Leonard?
Chris, great news. We have a special guest in the audience. He is an American film and stage actor. His performances in classical Hollywood cinema films made him an American cultural icon. In 1999, the American Film Institute selected him as the greatest male star of classic American cinema. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Humphrey Bogart.
Wow. I didn't know he was still alive. It was a great honor to have him in the audience. So again, happy Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow, and then happy President's Day, which is Monday. If you have off, enjoy the day. Okay. Wear your mask, stay social distance, wash your hands, and be kind to each other. All right. And we'll see you next time on Real Estate with Mr. G. Thanks for watching.